Thank you all so much for joining us. Today we're going to give you an overview of Contentstack and talk a little bit about what Contentstack can do for you. Just a quick intro. My name is Lloyd Layton. I'm an account executive at Contentstack.
And hey, gang, my name is Adam Smith. I'm a solutions engineer here at Contentstack, so I'll be your tour guide for the product and here to answer any technical questions you might have today.
Thanks, Adam. So in terms of agenda, I'm going to walk you through a few slides that just really set the scene, kind of where Contentstack fits in the ecosystem. No more than 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll pass things over to Adam, who will walk you through kind of a general overview of the platform, kind of highlighting some core features and functionality. And as always, we love for these sessions to be collaborative. So feel free to, drop any questions in the chat. We'll do our best to monitor those. And then for anything we don't cover today, we're obviously available to take any follow-up calls with you. Just please reach out. So great. So just to kick things off a little bit and to set the scene, right? So, the digital world has changed a lot the last 20 plus years. Things used to be a lot simpler, static. Today content is everything, right? You have web, you have mobile, you have email, you have all these organizations are managing content in so many different places, right? And what we hear consistently, from our customer base before they work with us is, these traditional CMSs, DXPs, the Drupals, the Sitecores, the Adobes of the world, they were built for this kind of older web-only world, and pretty consistent. We hear very consistent pain points, right? So one of the biggest pain points, obviously, is around freedom and flexibility, right? So at a lot of organizations, you have content teams. Obviously, their job is to create content, create and deliver content in front of audiences, and oftentimes. What we hear is these content teams, they're so reliant on developers to bring their content to life. And then on the flip side, you have really talented developers and technical resources, they're essentially kind of operating and on a ticketing queue and doing whatever they, changing banners and font sizes instead of doing innovative things for the business. So you have a real frustration on both sides. And also, in the kind of composable world we live in, these older school systems, they're just not, they're not built to integrate well with really any other technologies. And when you're working with, the Sitecores of the world, obviously you need very specialized developer talent, which can lead to a really high total cost of ownership, right? So, insert Contentstack. There's a lot of buzzwords in the space. We're a headless CMS, we're a composable DXP, we're an API first platform. The great thing about a truly headless and API first platform like Contentstack is we give you a lot of freedom and flexibility, right? Related to the experiences you're delivering, right? So let's take a website, for example. Because we're truly headless, you can create your front end using any modern framework or technology stack, for example, like Next.js or React. And with Contentstack, like any CMS or DXP, during the implementation, you're designing that content model, right? Configuring that content model. And one of the great things about a system like Contentstack is, once your team defines those components, those content types, your business teams will very easily be able to, edit, drag and drop, rearrange content without needing developers every time they do something. And then obviously as an API first platform, we make it super easy to integrate Contentstack into your tech ecosystem. So Contentstack, Forrester calls us one of the earliest pioneers in headless CMS. We've been doing this for quite some time. I'll talk about a few things that are really core to us, but, long story short, we've become, known as the enterprise player in this modern content space. We talked a little bit about kind of our customer-centric mindset. For us, our customers are everything. We're known for offering the best support and onboarding experience in the industry. All of our customers get a dedicated account team. Every user gets 24/7 in-product chat support. You hear from a real Contentstack employee globally in less than 2 minutes, wherever you are. And then we have this concept also of cross-vendor support, right? So we work with a lot of the technologies you're also working with, and we'll actually go behind the scenes to help unblock any challenges you're facing, regardless of who is at fault vendor-wise. We also have what we call our technical solutions organization. So, not hands-on keyboard work, but think of it kind of like expert services. We have a team of architects that have done hundreds of Contentstack implementations. So we help our customers and our partners with best practices, during implementation and beyond, to make sure that you're doing things the best way possible from the beginning. So in terms of our strategy, right? So at Contentstack, we really see ourselves as, your content nervous system, right? So our bread and butter, our primary focus is our award-winning headless CMS Contentstack. Like other platforms, we have, a really fast-growing ecosystem of integration partners. Many of those partners, have few click integrations in Contentstack's marketplace, which makes it really easy to plug and play with different technologies. A few very unique things that only Contentstack offers in this headless CMS space. The first one I'll talk a little bit about is Automation Hub, and then we also have a optional front-end hosting solution called Launch. As a truly headless CMS, obviously we're totally agnostic when it comes to hosting your front end. You could host yourself. You could use a service like Netlify or Vercel, or you could use Contentstack Launch, depending on your needs and use cases. In terms of our ecosystem, right, we're API first. What I'm showing now, these are the most common integrations our customers are integrating Contentstack with, but as long as there's API access on the other end, it should be fairly straightforward to integrate Contentstack with your tech ecosystem of choice. On the, just when the things we hear from customers, right? So when customers go composable from more traditional systems, we hear very similar things. A lot of these other, competitive, headless solutions tend to be focused primarily on technical users. Contentstack is known for doing the best at not only offering the most API first tooling for tech users, but also we're super intuitive and easy to use for content teams, right? So when we talk to customers that have gone live with Contentstack, their users are onboarding oftentimes in less than 30 minutes compared to more traditional means of managing content. We hear customers publishing content 2 to 10 times faster. And then when you do need to build new experiences and content models, we hear from developers they're able to do so 3 to 5 times faster. We're also the only cloud agnostic headless CMS on the market. Contentstack, we're a cloud hosted SaaS platform. We are offered in AWS, Azure, and GCP. So Automation Hub, this is really cool, right? So what we hear from customers, that are used to, headless CMS implementations, one of the big pain points is that there's with competitive solutions, there's a lot of assembly required, right? One really cool thing about Contentstack is our offering called Automation Hub, right? So think of it like a visual workflow builder. We make it really easy to automate really anything, not only in our CMS, but across your technology stack. Just as an example, if you're an e-commerce company, for example, every time you publish a new page, you can automate various things across your tech stack and keep things in sync, which is key. Really, anything manual and cumbersome, you can automate that, which is really great. We work with some of the most amazing organizations around the world. Really, we really have an enterprise focus here at Contentstack, and I think just a testament of the level of support we offer our customers. We also have the industry's leading, customer retention rate. So when customers work with Contentstack, over 98% of them continue to work with us. And yeah, so I think, we work with, the world's leading digital first organizations. Naturally, a lot. Really any company that values the digital experience they're offering their stakeholders, right? So, given the nature of the digital world, we work with, I'd say, 40 to 50% of our customers are in the e-commerce or retail space. Given the enterprise nature of the Content Stack platform, we also do really well in more traditional or regulated industries, financial services, insurance, pharma, healthcare, manufacturing, et cetera. So yeah, just a lot of really cool use cases we'd be happy to explore with you. So with that, I'll pass things over to you, Adam.
Very cool. Well, let me share up my screen and we will get our tour started. Beautiful. So again, my name is Adam Smith. I will be your technical tour guide today for Content Stack, and I'm going to walk you through a few kind of Content Stack 101 types of things, right? In terms of how the product works, how you can create content super quickly with it and customize it, and of course, get it out into the world, right? And if we've got a few minutes, I know we wrap in about 20, I'll show you some kind of advanced stuff like Automation Hub. But to get started, I am looking at my own personal Content Stack dashboard. One of the cool things with Content Stack is we have really this ability to integrate with third-party products, right? Because you are composing your own tech stack, we want to make that super straightforward and easy. So one of the things you're going to see as I'm walking through this today, you're going to see all these sorts of apps. Like here, for example, we've got my Google Analytics, right? This is super important. I want to see how my web properties are performing, but this is all customizable. So I can take a look at things like, okay, what are kind of my recently modified entries? We have an asset management system for images and other types of files. So I can take a look at what's been modified recently. You can see here, we've added a headshot of Lloyd for some reason, but we'll see if we use that. And I can just go in from here, right? And I can start to make changes to content. So let's say I want to make changes to the homepage. I'll just go right over here, click on my homepage. And for starters, let's actually go to the English version here. And for starters, I want to point out something that within Content Stack, because we are a composable content management system, everything is really structured so it can be reused wherever you want. So if we take a look here, right, we're really looking at all the different elements of kind of what makes up our homepage. We've got like a title and a promo bar and things like that. And that's really cool. And this is kind of the standard way you would look at kind of a composable CMS. But within Content Stack, we also give you the ability to go in and say, let's look at this visually to see how this is going to kind of look as I'm working on it, right? So we have this technology called Live Preview. And of course, I can click right here and you can see it's showing me everything that is part of that page, right? So as I'm kind of browsing around on the left, I can see, we've got, for example, our promotional bar here that says free shipping for orders over 35. We've got our hero banner. We're actually using a few different versions, if you can see that. And the reason we're doing that is we want to make sure that we're customizing it for the right audience. And within Content Stack, we give you the ability to personalize, based upon any sort of front-end personalization technology. So here we're doing it based on their shopping stuff. And of course, then we have this notion of, we call them content blocks. I like to think of them as modular blocks, right? So as you can see, as we're on the right-hand side, we have all of this different functionality in the site. We've got, some calls to action in terms of, celebrating December with our latest trends. We've got some images that are getting pulled out of, and, products coming out of an e-commerce. But what's cool with Content Stack is everything here, right? I can now go into and start to make changes. So let's say I want to maybe change this section here where it says celebrate December with our latest winter trends. So I can go right in, I can hit edit right in context, and now it's going to show me on the left-hand side everything that makes up all of that piece of content, right? So here, for example, we've got a paragraph that says, chat with our fashion expert, Angie, and let's make some changes to this. So maybe we're doing a campaign with a new hire we have named Lloyd. So let's do chat with our fashion expert, Lloyd, to find your new favorite outfit, and we'll change him down here. Lloyd's fashion sense is unparalleled, and he will help brilliantly with your new wardrobe. Now, maybe we want to go in and add an image to this as well. One of the cool things within Content Stack, right, is we can do things like, of course, text, but we can also take in images either from some sort of asset management or maybe our own asset management. So I can just go right in here and I can just insert, go to choose my assets. And we have this nice interface here. I can just go into the Lloyd headshot. And I can take a look and see how I want that to be embedded. And let's make that part of the text. So now I can grab that picture of Lloyd, and we've got his handsome marketing ready photo ready to go. And of course, now we're taking a look at this, and we also have some other stuff, right? If you take a look down here, we've got the book a style meeting with Angie today. And that's really a call to action, right? That's something that my developer has set up. It's very structured. It's something that, we don't want necessarily for folks to be changing the color or the shape of it or anything. We just want them to change maybe what that actual call to action is, and where that's going to go when a user clicks on it to learn more. So I'll just go over here, and what we've done is we've set it up so that we've got this call to action as a title. So I can just go in and say, learn with Lloyd. And of course, you can see we're even doing things like making sure this is brand consistent with capitals and everything else on the right-hand side. And I can go in and I can say, where do we want this? When I have a visitor come in, right? Where do I want this to link out to? And instead of a user having to, fill out like a URL and kind of a web address type of thing, I can just go right in here and I can grab exactly what I want and I can navigate out to it. So I could, maybe remove this product listing page, and now I can point it out to something new. So maybe we have, some products that Lloyd's going to be talking about. Maybe we want to show sports accessories. He's very athletic, so let's do that, right? So here now we've now set up this call to action. We have it going to a completely different product listing page, and that's all done in just a couple seconds, right? Now, the other thing too is if I take a look here, all of the different functionality that we've got kind of on that right-hand side on the website, these are all things that really is my toolkit as a marketer. So when you are working with Contentstack, you can set up exactly what sort of functionality makes sense. So here, for example, right, we've got banners and image cards and calls to action and things like that. And it really lets you pick and choose and add those guardrails, right, of what exactly you want for this, for your site visitors or to be using, right? So let's go in and save this real quick. And I just want to walk you through a couple of other things kind of while we're here. And for starters, if we take a look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see this says version 45. We make a lot of changes to our homepage. And one of the things to keep in mind with Contentstack is we keep really a running history of everything that's ever changed on every piece of content on your website. So here we're on version 45. And of course, if I click on here, I can take a look at all the other versions that we've got. And this seems like kind of a nitpicky thing, but I think it's super cool for making my life easier. We can go in and rename these, right? So I can go in and let's rename that. We'll call this the Learn with Lloyd, right? So instead of kind of trying to navigate all these different version numbers and kind of pointing and clicking, I can just say, oh, okay, that's the Learn with Lloyd. That's the past campaign, the Angie's campaign, etc. So I'll just put Learn with Lloyd there. And once we've done that, right now I can say, okay, maybe we want to now send this out to our marketing team. We want to get this out into the world. We want to make sure that folks are able to, preview it, kind of take a look at it. We've got a marketing team that might want to make sure that this is going to be up to our brand voice and everything else. So what I can do here is I can go in and I can add it to what's called a workflow. And I can just dive in right here, and we'll put this into our review again. And, I can say tomorrow's a Friday. We want to launch this on the 1st. So let's have the review due on Monday. And this is where I can go in and I can either, select specific people I want to be notified that we've worked on this, or I can select an entire team. So if I want to say, hey, we want our entire content management team, right, to take a look at this. And of course I can add some comments, and I'll just put in here, made some changes for the new Learn with Lloyd campaign. Take a look. And once I've updated that workflow, this has now gone off. It's let our entire content management team know that, hey, there's something that's changed that we need to take a look at. And from there, they're all going to get an email, or some of the eagle-eyed viewers might have seen my unread notification on the left-hand side here, right under my tasks. But we're going to make it so that folks are able to see it really easily. So let's say that we want to take a look, see really what's changed here, right? So I can go in and I can go, you know what, let's see what's changed between this and the Angie campaign. So I can just hit this compare button, and it's going to show me directly side by side all of the different changes, right, that happening between the current version and of course this older version that we have. And I can take a look at different languages, for example. I can revert to that old version, really, whatever makes sense for my content workflow. Other cool thing here is I can go in and take a look at things like discussions, right? So let's say we want to collaborate on this content and, really have like a conversation about it, right? So here we've got a few different things that are here. We've got book a call as in our marketing brand voice language. We've got, change the title. Let's say I actually want to flag that learn with Lloyd, right? So I can go right in here and I can say, you know what, let's make sure that we've got a comment on here. So I can just dive right in here. I can hit a comment and say, hey, image team, I can call them out. Image team, please see if we have a color version of this headshot post. And the other thing is our title still says December. We want to maybe let our editorial team know that it's January, right? So let's make sure this is up to date. So celebrate the new year with Lloyd's fashion expertise. So I can now do that, right? And now we've got this added in as some things. We'll save it. And now we can put it right back into a workflow for folks to take a look at it. And if I go back in, right, this is now added in as our image team, letting me know, hey, do we have a color version of this of Lloyd's headshot? So we have a lot of collaboration, right, in terms of as we're working on this, making sure that everybody's, staying within the interface, staying within Contentstack, and it's super easy for folks to really make notes without a bunch of emails and maybe Slack messages going around, right? Now, once we've got this ready to go and it's ready to publish, we can just go right in here and I can, of course, hit our publish. And one of the things that makes us different at Contentstack, and if we have some developers on today's webinar, we give you the ability to really create different publication targets, right? And the cool thing there is we can say, hey, maybe we want to have a preview version of the site that's just for our employees, maybe our marketing agencies, things like that. Or we can set up things like our mobile or, of course, our production. So I can go in here and I can select exactly where I want this to go. I can select what languages I want it to be in. And then I can, of course, go in and say when I want it to be published. So super straightforward. We can go in, make those changes, and publish them out. The other thing we can do, right, as part of this is we can say, hey, maybe we want to add this to what we call a release. So what a release lets you do is, let's say you're about to launch a big campaign and you've got maybe some different pieces of content for all over the website. Maybe you've got some for your mobile app. You've got some new images and branding you want to send out. A release gives you really kind of one-stop shopping, I guess, so that you can put all of that content together and then send it out. So if I wanted to, I can go right in here and I can add it to a release. And you can see here, we've got a couple ones that are active. We've got our sales roadshow, and then we've got my very poorly titled, it's Snow Time Like the Present 2024. I'm going to add it to that one. So we'll add it to the Snow Time Like the Present, and we'll add it for publishing. Now, one of the things that you might have noticed or you might already know from your experience with headless content management is you can reuse content, right? And you can have things in all sorts of different places, and those are called references. So you can see here, Contentstack is actually saying, hey, wait a minute, we have all this other stuff that you've now got as part of this homepage, right? So you've got all these referenced assets, including, of course, my picture of Lloyd there. And we've actually got some different entries and some other products and things that are part of that. Would you like to add those to that release so that everything is super seamless? And we'll just hit yes, of course. So now we've added that to our release. And if we actually dive into our releases now, you can see now we've got it's Snow Time Like the Present 24, and we have all of these different things, whether it's the homepage, whether it is, the images, we've got everything really in this one area, so that as a marketer, I can now deploy this out all at the same time. And of course, if it's a limited time sort of promotion, I can pull that back, right? And while we're on the topic of it, we also have this notion of a workflow board. So maybe I want to see exactly where all of my content is throughout its life cycle, right? Instead of going maybe through a huge list and taking a look at, okay, what are we trying to review, right? What is being tested, et cetera. This workflow board really lets me take a look and see, wow, we've got a lot of stuff in draft. We've got some things that are in review. You can see we've got the homepage for the snow time like Christmas. We've got another version of the homepage that we're actually testing out with different audiences. And we can actually just go in and maybe we've already this 100-day fit challenge, we've already gone through SEO review. It's just been sitting there. Maybe we want to put that into compliance sign off. I can just drag and drop it, update it, notify folks, just like I was within a piece of content, but in a bit of a more kind of visual way, right? So that's really what it looks like in terms of creating content, in terms of really kind of publishing it out, making changes to images and things like that. I know we've got about 5 minutes left, so there's a couple of things I just want to show as well. And one of the things Lloyd pointed out earlier, right, is we do have this notion of care without compromise. So when you're working with Contentstack, we want to make sure that our customers are successful, but also that you have the support that you need, right? So if I go in here and I say, let's maybe I have a question about how this workflow board app works, right? I can just go right up into my help, and then I can take a look at things that are really in context in terms of things that make the most sense for where I'm at in the product. So it's going to show me, this was part of our fall platform recap. So it's going to show me that, but maybe I want to go in and actually talk with support about this. Now, one thing I want to point out, we don't paywall our support. So if you want to get started with a trial on our website, you can chat with our support right away. We don't want to have this kind of hidden behind an email or a ticketing system, right? It's really as simple as hitting the big purple button, and it's then going to bring me up, hey, welcome to the chat. And it's going to connect me with a live agent, right, that can share my screen. We can start walking through questions, whether it's of a developer nature or things like, hey, how do I customize my workflow, for example? So some pretty interesting things you can do there. And again, we love to help our customers. So this is something that you can use even before you become a customer of ours. So we'll end the chat so we don't have anything going on there. And that's really kind of the 101 on Contentstack. One other thing I wanted to show, since Lloyd had pointed it out, is I want to show you this Automation Hub. So Automation Hub is really our low code, or as I jokingly say, lots of code way of going in and having these workflows built in. So I'm going to look for my own notifications and I'll open these up, right? And what Automation Hub lets you do is it lets you really start to create all of those integrations and maintain those integrations, whether it is stuff that happens within Contentstack or elsewhere. So for example, I've got one down here that is my entry update to Slack. And if I click on that, you can see what we're actually doing is every time something is updated within Contentstack, we're actually going to go out to Slack and we're going to send a message to my content notification channel so that my whole team can have visibility on it, maybe even if they're not Contentstack users, right? And the cool thing with Automation Hub is if we want to make a new one, you can do this in just a few clicks. You don't even need to get a developer involved. I can just go in and we'll call it, I'll stop picking on Lloyd. We'll call this something different. We'll call this January automation. And I'll go in, I'll create that. And I can really start to then say, do we want this to be triggered when something happens in Contentstack? Do we want to wait for something else to really call into this automation? Do we want to link it into our own front-end hosting or just schedule it? So I can go in, I can say, let's go in and make it so that when content is updated or created, right, I can just dive right in. I can say, when things are updated in this particular part of my Contentstack experience, let's go in, and now we have things like action steps. We can do conditional paths, which is really like an if this, then that sort of thing. So I can go in, action step. And we pointed out earlier this marketplace, right, of all of these third-party integrations and technology partners. This is where I can now start to just, without writing a line of code, I can just say, hey, let's go in, and every time a piece of content is created, maybe we want to put that into our Amazon S3 bucket, right? We want to save that for some reason, maybe for compliance. So I can go in, create a new object, and we can just take that content that we made in Contentstack, automatically send it to AWS. This is, of course, a super straightforward example, but you can do things like automated translations. You can connect out to AI if you want to do things like machine-based translations for different markets that you might be in. You can There's a lot of things you can do here, and you can even write your own applications and your own code and have it run in Automation Hub too. So that was really all I had for today's demo. If anyone has any questions while we're here, feel free to put them in the chat, and Lloyd and I are happy to help.
Great. Well, otherwise, feel free to kind of follow up with us. We'd be happy to schedule any follow-up sessions and dive into any specific topics. But thank you all so much for taking the time with us today, and hope to speak with you soon.